Escape from Batechu Island, the second thriller novel by T.A. Shelano, out now.
It's the Middle-Aged Bodcast. Getting older, but having some laughs.
Welcome to the Middle-Aged Bodcast with me, Rich and Rich.
And me, T.A. Shelano.
T.A., it is episode 7 of season 5. Flying through the season, really.
And more than that, Rich, it's book release day. Escape from Batechu Island is out. It's there. Go buy it now. If you hadn't already pre-ordered it, what was wrong with you?
Well, yes, listeners, if you aren't aware, and how could you not be, we've had promos running before all the episodes. T.A.'s second novel, Escape from Batechu Island, releases today. So it is now an out now situation. You can buy it. So make sure you head on over to Amazon, I believe it is, T.A. Is that right?
You can go on to Amazon and you will find the ebook priced at the bargain price of £1.99, which I think works out at probably $2.99 for US listeners. And the paperback is £9.99. I'm not 100% sure what that is in dollars. And it is also going to be part of the Kindle Unlimited for those who have subscriptions to that. So if you don't feel like you could commit to a financial purchase, you can always, if you have got Kindle Unlimited, go and have a read of it. And that would be great because it has been, yet again, another long and winding road, Rich, of coming up with these ideas. And, you kind of obviously hope somebody will at least have a read of it beyond just you and Mrs. Shelano and a few handful of other people, would be nice. So there we go. But yeah, absolutely thrilled to have done a second one. Pleased with how it's sort of turned out, actually. I think so. I think it's an enjoyable read, and yeah,
I'm looking forward to reading it. Looking forward to getting my copy. So yes.
Well, I've just said, I think it's an enjoyable read. I mean, I can't say anything else having written it, can I? But also, there's a slight arrogance days. I think it's an enjoyable read. You should. What are you thinking about with all these other authors?
Yeah. Well, let's just say, podcasters. Let's just say the first book, The Doctor's Hidden Patients, that was excellent. Really enjoyed reading that. So, T.A., looking forward to reading this second book.
Good link there, Rich. That's still available as well. Go buy that if you haven't already.
It is, yes.
I think there's at least 7 billion people in the world that haven't bought that. More, actually. So go and have a look at that as well. Still available. And Escape from Batechu Island is a standalone sequel to the first book. So you can read either of those books individually. But if you've read The Doctor's Hidden Patients, you will enjoy Escape from Batechu Island just that little bit more because of the links back. So why not treat yourself?
That's a good shout. Yeah, podcasters, Christmas is coming up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, somebody you know who likes thriller books. There you go. I've been listening to this podcast and there's this random guy from Birmingham, England, who's writing these books. I don't know if they're any good, but do you want to try it out for £2?
Why not? It's a good shout to do, and I think it being on Kindle Unlimited, it should do quite well on there. But yeah, we are here. It is the 7th episode of the season, and we wanted to just do a little bit of a catch up on a couple of bits and bobs and chat about a few things that have been going on. One of the things we really need to chat about is the upcoming cooking special. We've sort of been thinking about some recipes to go for and doing that, but have you got any sort of thoughts towards that?
I think I know what I'm going to do. I do think I know what I'm going to do. I'm not sure I'm going to commit to saying it right here, right now, but I've got a fair idea. And in that same vein, Rich, you'll appreciate that Mrs. Shelano this very evening said to me earlier, "You're cooking tomorrow, right? Not would you like to?" I mean, I had sort of suggested to, I could do something towards the end of this week around commitments, and she just literally was like, "You are cooking tomorrow." And I'm like, okay. And she's got this thing of chili in mind she wants me to do, and I've got to brown off the mince and then throw it in a slow cooker. I'm like, okay. But the thing that got me was the fact she just randomly turned into like a Lord Sugar from the Apprentice bit, where he's got fed up of a contestant that's like refusing to be project manager. she's just sort of turned into that, where it's just like, you are going to be the project manager. It's like, you are doing the cooking tomorrow. And I was like, and sure, it's fair enough, because she is out tomorrow at work and I'm working from home. So in all fairness, I've got no excuse. So, and it'll be good practice for the cooking special. I need practice because I am nowhere near as good in this sphere at the moment as Raging Rich, who's been rattling through his recipes.
Well, I did the sausage casserole again today, actually, for my dinner, and I did that in the slow cooker. Did, as you dubbed them, my signature enchiladas earlier in the week as well. I am at the moment getting into that bit of like kind of doing the same thing every other week, which is sort of something I'm trying to avoid and get some new recipes. I did do, I think we mentioned it in a previous episode, a bolognese pasta bake, which was a bit of a new thing. I've done it before, but not sort of for a long time and not to the sort of way that I did it last time around. But yeah, cooking special coming up. We've kind of settled on a bit of a winter warmers theme for it, haven't we? So yeah, looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I mean, we did sort of talk about, with it being an episode that's going to come out in December, whether we should go down the route of looking at a Christmas type scenario. And then I think both you and I broke out in a cold sweat at the idea of us trying to do some form of Christmas meal. Perhaps might be a step too far. If you stick with us for season 9, maybe next Christmas, we'll go down that route. But for now, I think winter warmers is definitely a good one. It's blatantly the right time of year for us to be doing that. So yeah, looking forward to that. I quite enjoy the cooking ones, although it's not been my biggest theme of the podcast. It's definitely been more your thing, I think, overall. But I do enjoy those episodes. It's always a bit of fun, isn't it, to kind of test yourself out and then talk sort of through it.
It is, and I did enjoy the last one. It was a good thing. It led to me actually making that a few times. I think I've made that buffalo chicken about 3 times now, and it is such an easy recipe to do. It actually technically could count, I suppose, as a winter warmer because it is quite a warming dish, but it's more of a, I think in the Poppy Cook's recipe book that I have, which it was from, it's one of those where it's for American football. It's kind of one of those American recipes that's been brought over here. But it was really simple to do and I really enjoyed it. But I'm looking at a few. I've got that cookbook, but I've also got a few other cookbooks that I've been going through. So I've got a few ideas. I've also found a really good YouTube channel that does high protein, slow cooker meals that are really good for you. So yeah, gonna have a little bit of a look into those, see what I can get from there. So yeah, watch this space. We will be back with that cooking special very soon. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good time as well to reflect on, obviously, the season so far. We've had some great guest episodes, I think, to reflect back on.
We have, yeah, and of course we've got another guest episode coming up next week, and really looking forward to that. And then obviously our Christmas special will have Dan from Casting Views with us, although he's going to be more of a guest host than a guest on the episode. But yeah, started off the season with just something we never would have expected, interviewing Gemma Bissix from Hollyoaks, and what a fabulous guest she was.
She was. I mean, I think what I would say is we were obviously going to do a soap special episode, and I think initially it was going to be just me and you talking about it. And then we kind of were like, actually, it'd be really great to be able to have somebody on, as a guest to talk about this. And obviously led into her obviously coming on the show, which was just fantastic.
So yeah, we spoke to Gemma, and the one thing that we didn't really touch upon, because if you follow us on socials, we did do some clips. We had Simon Gregson, we had Sarah West, and we had Gemma, obviously announcing her as the guest. But Sarah West, star of Neighbours is finishing quite soon. By the time this episode goes out, there's not going to be many episodes left of Neighbours to air. We didn't really touch upon it enough in the soap special, but it's just such a shame that a show like that that's ran for 40 years is coming to an end. And it sort of will tie into something we're going to talk about a little bit later on, really, with some other things that have been going on. But yeah, going back to the guests, of course, following Gemma, we had Stacey from Stacey's Pop Culture Parlour. She out-geeked me on the Ninja Turtles, T.A.
She did. That was, I'll be honest, one of the more challenging episodes for me. Because obviously it's one thing being part of an interview not an interview, an episode where it's me and you, and I understand, that's the way that's going to go. When it's like me with you and somebody who is even more advanced than you in these phases, that was an interesting challenge. And that's the other thing, isn't it? It's doing different things and different challenges. Just go back to your neighbour's point there. We did enjoy having those promos that led up into Gemma's episode. And with Neighbours, I think the interesting thing is having it closed down and then it kind of came back onto sort of streaming. I think people would have thought it was going to carry on maybe longer. It's a bit of a shame. But yes, that's one of the reflections with that. But yeah, Heroes in a Half Shell with Stacey. That was there you go. I've out-geeked you now. Look at that.
Well, you really haven't, because I could just throw a ton of Turtles reference at you right now. So, you've opened a can of worms right there.
Well, we won't do that.
Or a box of pizza. But yeah, that was a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. And one of the things that we found out about was that Stacey had actually ran last year a quiz on the Ninja Turtles and a showing of the original movie. And I think she's trying to do something with the sequel. Now, I did actually see the sequels at the cinema. And that would be quite cool to go and see those again. Maybe, Stacey, if you're listening, maybe do the original trilogy back to back at a cinema. Can you imagine that? Just a massive bonanza, like the Cowabunga collection. But rather than the video game of that, the Cowabunga collection will become the 3 movies all back to back at the cinema. I'd love that.
I know you would. You'd be like, right, let's end up doing like a big bonus trio thing and have like a turtle related podcast special. I can see, 2026 is here we go. Michelangelo and Raphael and Donatello and Leonardo. Oh, I've named them all. Hey, that's good. I know a bit. I know a little bit.
All right, then what's Shredder's real name?
It was played by James Avery from...
Not the actor. I'm talking about the character.
Yeah, well, Master Splinter's nemesis, Bebop and Rocksteady's boss. I don't know.
Oroku Saki.
Oroku Saki, yes, I do remember that. Now you've said it.
Terrible. Anyway.
We digress.
We followed that up with Dan H. from Gaming Views, who was talking to us about his experience using the weight loss drug Manjaro, and also discussing sort of the way video gaming has gone over the last few years. And that was a really good conversation as well. For me, with the video gaming as well, we've sort of seen it go into this big subscription kind of model. And I think if you've been listening to Gaming Views recently, they've touched upon a lot of those sort of things. And it ties in rather well with like the streaming versus physical media episode that we did in season 3. So yeah, some really good points in there. And they had a celebrity guest as well on Gaming Views, didn't they? They had Ian Lee, who brilliantly, in his column for the magazine Retro Gamer, he actually mentioned them. He gave them a shout out, which was incredible. So if you are a gamer, make sure you go and check out Gaming Views with Dan H and Dan P, also known as Dan from Casting Views. Yeah, make sure you go and check those guys out.
And next week, the listeners are going to be absolutely hypnotized by what we've got coming up, Rich, because it's an episode with Hypno Wellness.
It is. We'll be talking to Cindy from Hypno Wellness. We're really looking forward to that. I actually thought you were going to do some Notorious B.I.G. lyrics then.
Hey?
And go, biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your eyes just hypnotize me.
That's lost on me. I have got no idea what... I'm not the biggest Notorious B.I.G. fan.
So yeah, we've got the episode with Hypno Wellness next week. Really looking forward to that one. It was a great interview. There were some surprising things brought up in there, so please do tune in for that. And we do have another guest episode coming up later in the season with Sarah R. New, an author. And we haven't actually recorded that one yet, have we? But we'll be doing that quite soon. So yeah, there's been some news this week about Pizza Hut closing a lot of its restaurants, and we sort of spoke about how a lot of the high streets changed recently, hasn't it? And we sort of had Wilko closing earlier this year, and Debenhams previously, BHS. If we're going back a few years, there's Woolworths. So there's been quite a lot of change in sort of towns, cities, sort of on the high street. and just sort of reminiscing about those times. I remember going to Woolworths in our town and buying loads of music from them. We're old enough to remember VHS, buying sort of videos from there as well, and DVDs. And it's just such a shame sort of seeing everything change. We've kind of gone more online. A lot of things have recently. So what do you think about that, T.A.?
Well, I think it's interesting you mentioned that. The online element of that particularly is the rate of change of this. So obviously habits have changed. There's a lot more of the sort of online now. I think specifically as far as sort of restaurants are concerned, a lot more people now have the food delivered to their house, perhaps, and not eating out in restaurants the way they used to. As I don't know, society becomes a little bit more insular. People seem to be at home more than ever before. Obviously that's taken off with working from home as well, not having as many people perhaps in the towns and cities as before the pandemic. So there's that kind of element of things. But I also think, Rich, is the rate of change. Some of the sort of organisations that you've mentioned there, were around for such a long time in terms of their sort of history with the British High Street. And it's this rapid rate of change in the technological era of, say since the sort of turn of the millennium, where things have really accelerated into a completely different phase now. And this was brought to life to me actually in a conversation with my mother quite recently, because she picked my niece up from school, and the conversation they had was like they were from different worlds. My niece couldn't grasp why grandma didn't have an iPad and wasn't playing computer games when she was a child, and was asking around, well, what did you have then? And she said to her, well, we eventually sort of had a TV, when I became, going to secondary school or whatever, when I was, whatnot. And she's like, all right, okay, well, you had a TV, so you got YouTube then at least. And she's sort of like, she's 7, and my mom's going, no, we didn't have that. And actually the TV wasn't in colour, it was in black and white. And she's going, I don't understand what you mean. There was this kind of complete alienation. And she said to me, but if I had a conversation with my own grandmother, it wouldn't have been that wide. And I said, but the thing is, you look at what's happened in the short time frame from generations before. Technology advancement generally moved, I would say, relatively slowly in some respects. You'd have time to digest what was happening as trends were changing, advancements in things. Like now, everything moves so fast. It's hard to even keep up with what's happening. And so it doesn't surprise me that actually, say, people born after about, 20 years ago, have got no concept actually now of living in a world that you and I actually would have grown up in reality, with the pre-internet age, the pre-mobile phone age, having a landline phone and all this sort of stuff. That was the thing she said to us. She was like, oh, going back to restaurants and stuff. She said, did you not go to McDonald's and KFC? And my mum was like, well, we didn't have that with a child. And she went, well, what did you do? It was like, and my mum was like, well, what do you mean? You were at home and she went, what about for birthday parties and stuff? She went, we come around people's houses. But you said you didn't have the games to play online. And she went, no, we used to play games in real life. She went, what do you mean? And she's like explaining Pass the Parcel to her and stuff like that. And, you know what I mean? And I said, and then you're going to love this reference. I said to my mum, I said, you won't have seen this film. I said, but this sounds to me exactly like a film starring Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes from about 30 years ago. I was like, Demolition Man. I was like, as far as your granddaughter's concerned, you've been frozen out of time and come back into an era you just like, what? Who are you? Why don't you understand about an iPad? And in terms of what you were saying, it's that rate of change and the loss of all these things that had existed, I think, for so long.
I think you're right. It's very interesting when we sort of look back at what's sort of changing as well now. And I actually saw a post on Instagram today that was really interesting, where someone said, we've gone now into this sort of subscription world where actually what's happening is we're paying. And this is not like the streaming versus physical media thing. This is everything. It's like everything is subscription. You're thinking about kind of even household cleaning products. You could be buying them from Amazon, and they'll take like a monthly payment from you for them unless you set it as a one-time purchase. There's all kind of things like that. And it does change the way we shop. It's changed a lot of habits massively. And I think that is, like you say, the rate of change is crazy. If you think back to when we were younger, I mean, music, for example, everything was on like a portable cassette player. And then I remember getting a portable CD player. And that was like the late 90s, early 2000s using that. Then all of a sudden the MP3 player came out. You don't really get those now, really. It's all the streaming. It's all that kind of thing. Things have changed a lot, but I do think there's still a lot of love for going to the shops and having physical products and things. It's just that there's a lot of people that don't do it now. And there's probably a lot less that do. Yeah, it's been interesting that the high street change. I've mentioned before I work in Wolverhampton. I mean, Wolverhampton, everything's shutting down there now. I mean, M&S went the other week. I think they are trying to find a new premises in Wolverhampton, but they went. They're quite a big store as well. River Island next door have gone. There's all these shops closing down. There's a random new shop, though, that has appeared, T.A. So we mentioned I'd been off for a while in a previous episode and explained that in our mental health check-in. But when I went back, guess what type of shop there was?
I'm struggling.
A Pokémon card shop.
Really?
A shop. Now listen. I'm not here to slate people who buy Pokémon cards or anything like that. I don't. Each their own. I buy a lot of tat. I have a lot of things that I like to collect and things like that. But there's a Pokémon card shop now in the shopping centre. And I just find it so strange. We've seen all these other things closing down. We keep hearing about Poundland being in trouble and stuff like that. And you think, oh, all these places are going to go. And yet there's now this opened up. And I would have thought it would have been better as like a little stall in the middle of the shopping centre, like they tend to do in some of the other shopping centres. But no, it's an actual store that they've opened. I mean, great, good for them, brilliant that they're doing so well they can do that. But wow.
I mean, who knew that Pokémon was a sensation in Wolverhampton? You learn something new every day.
It's crazy. It's really mad.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing though, isn't it, Rich? And it's the whole theme around we're reflecting and we sound really old now, but we are obviously on the middle-aged podcast, which I think our new tagline will be for people who remember when TikTok meant a clock. Going viral was not a good thing.
It's very true though, isn't it? And it is a strange thing to kind of get your head around at times. Like we've lived through it, we've seen change. I mean, you think back to even like printers, dot matrix printers, if you remember them. And now you can get 3D printers and actually print things that you can use and sort of create your own tools and models and things that you can sort of print off. That'll help you with DIY projects and things like that. Maybe we need a Bodcast DIY printer to make us good at DIY. That'll never happen. But yeah, it's really strange how things have gone. And I think, like you say, the rate of change is crazy.
In so much so, Rich, you and I don't even need to worry about becoming DIY experts anymore, because the way it's going, there's going to be a robot here fairly soon to help us with that, from what I can see. So we're all good. You got the driverless cars coming, so you're less inclined now to want to drive and pass your test. We've got DIY. DIY. You and I, not our thing. You get a robot in to do it. Great. It's all good. It saves us. Leaves us all the time to be doing this kind of thing. I write my books. If you'll start buying them. And I'm just realised the irony of the opening of this episode was about trying to sell stuff online. So bookstores on the high street. T.A. Shelano, if you know.
Well, that's the thing though, isn't it? Thinking about it, you think it like podcasting and it's something that's taken off and it's quite new, but it's an online process. But like with the books, you got all these like e-readers for reading all your books. People don't buy books anymore. They just read them on this device. And I think it's such a shame because actually having that physical book, and bookshops are always kind of trying to find ways, independent bookshops of sort of having their customers. And I think, independent authors, maybe that's the way to go. Like imagine a bookshop in the Midlands and it just sold books by independent authors.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the some of the independent bookstores try and promote to a degree some percentage and actually have independent authors go and give talks now and do signings and things like that. So there are elements of that. But you're right. I mean, what are the options? I mean, like if you think about what we're doing right now, I mean, you and I would have to go and try and see if we could get people to watch us in a club or a theatre, which I think would be an interesting challenge.
Stranger things have happened.
2026, Rich and T.A. on tour, coming to a venue near you. Seems unlikely, but you never know. What would we call it? Bodcast on tour? Talking tour? Bodcast Britain? I don't know.
Podcasting around Britain, it would have to be, wouldn't it? That'd be it.
Yeah, and in fact, the acronym of that would be BAB, which of course is a local phrase to Birmingham, isn't it? You're right, Bab. So the BAB tour, Bodcast around Britain.
Yeah, that's it. The BAB tour.
This is it. This is gonna be the thing. We're gonna get this out there. We'll be I don't know. We'll be in Norfolk on a Tuesday night, talking to 9 people.
Oh, come on. Well, at least 10.
You reckon? But it is interesting. It's that change of the online and the offline worlds do seem to really, you talk about going back in time, the industrial revolution and all that. We're at this digital revolution, and there's all the sort of impacts of these things now becoming more and more apparent, I suppose.
You say that though, T.A. Think about like if there's an issue with the servers or anything like that, and that has happened quite recently. You're suddenly losing all these services and access to them. And this is why I think it's so important that we keep the high street alive, that we're purchasing physical media, that we're doing all this. Because imagine if the only way you could get certain things was online, and then suddenly you don't have that access anymore, even like for a short-term thing. It's so hard to then get what you need. But yeah, it's a really interesting one. I do think that there have been a lot of changes. And of course, even sort of thinking about the big supermarkets, you think about like your Asda's and your Tesco's, and they sell clothes now a lot more than they did sort of in previous years. They do a lot of that, and that's become more popular. And I think that's the thing, like everywhere you go now, these sort of changes through the high street, certain stores not being there. Such a shame. And yeah, bring them back. Let's get Woolies back. Go to Germany. There's Woolworths in Germany. I've told the story about C&A, haven't I? I think I mentioned that, where I went to Prague and there was a C&A, and my mum was like, there's a C&A in Prague. I'm going, well, why do I care? What am I going to get from C&A? I ended up going, taking a photograph in front of it, and then getting my mum a bag for life from C&A. So she'd go, oh, you went then, did you? And her response was, I've already got one of those. I've already got a bag for life from those. I was like, well, now you got another one. And she was very appreciative of it. But yeah, it was, it's interesting. Some of these stores do exist still in other countries. But yeah, the UK, it is changing. And yeah, let's see what's next. Hopefully we don't lose too many more of the big sort of names from the high street or sort of obviously from the towns and cities and shopping centres. I mean, not to sort of bring this to a close, but there is a cruel irony, it has to be said, about a man that we describe as the king of IT and obviously the online world is here trying to rejuvenate the offline world. I think there's something in that. I just think it's like we'd all be a bit better off. We need to leave the house. We need to, as the kids like to say, we need to touch some grass. You're doing well. You're doing better than me. I've not heard that phrase. Never heard of that? Is that a new thing? This has been for years. Touch grass. We need to go out, breathe some air, touch some grass. I've spent more time in the corporate world. It's like touch base, isn't it? And we need to circle back to that and all that kind of nonsense that you hear from people. And I was said touch grass. It's like, what? Get out, live a little in the world, touch some grass. No, fair enough. Well, on that note, podcasters, I think that does bring this episode to a close. Thank you very much, T.A. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Want more middle-aged podcast in your life? Of course you do. Follow us on social media for behind-the-scenes stuff, extra larks, and all our latest updates. We're on Instagram and Threads @midagedpodcast.
Facebook's easier. Just head to facebook.com/middleagedpodcast.
If you're still hanging on to Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, we're at Midaged Bodcast.
And if you're on Blue Sky, it's at middleagedpodcast.bsky.social.
Or you can swing by our website, middleagedpodcast.co.uk.
Give us a follow and stay in the loop.
Cheers for listening.
Two best mates, yeah, they're taking a stand. Rachel, Rich and T.A. got your health in the hands. Williams, laughs and tales they tell. From beats and nights to workouts, they're keeping it real. Oh, it's the Middle Age Podcast. Getting older, yeah, but having a blast with Rich and T.A. You're never alone on this journey to feel better in mind, body, and soul. Turn it up, Middle Age Podcast. Getting older, yeah, but having a blast.
As Jill opened the packet and removed the first one, Pal stared at the remaining 13 delightful sugary snacks. Pal knew they were 14 in a packet, as he'd counted them down like a smoker about to go cold turkey after their last pack of cigarettes. He recalled savouring each mouthful of his last ever packet of biscuits. That was 580 long days ago, and as he watched the first crumbs parachute into Jill's mug, Pal was drooling like a hungry canine. He could resist no longer, snatching the pack and munching away as if he hadn't eaten for a week. "What are you doing, Pal?" Jill said, grabbing the packet, causing 2 biscuits to fall to the floor. Pal fell to his knees and stuffed the snacks from the well-worn, unclean carpet into his mouth. "Mr. Joel! I don't care that it's your shop. You will not have any more. Do you hear me?" Jill said, appalled by Pal's behaviour. Jill hadn't shouted at anyone like that since Alan hadn't applied sun cream to his legs in Spain. How she remembered the peeling when they returned. She'd hoovered 4 times a day for a whole week. Pal looked up at Jill, like a toddler caught rummaging in a cupboard by a parent.